writer and host of Higher Women. Today I'm here with Kristen Yoder. She is an amazing cannabis entrepreneur, podcaster. What doesn't she do? I'm super excited to talk to her and get some knowledge on her side of things in the industry. So, Kristen, can you tell us about what you've been up to with Cynical Stoner and what your plans are for the year and the new brand?
Sure. So much. I'm up to so much, but I created the brand just to bring in passive revenue. But then people really liked all of my designs and stuff, so I just decided to go all in and try and make it actually something that can pay my bills instead of just something that brings in a little extra money. And it's really fun. For me, I've been in the cannabis industry 16 years. It's been really fun to take a break from that and learn e-commerce stuff. But it's very overwhelming as well. But I'm really excited to know that I'm not the only cynical stoner out there, which it is also kind of depressing because stoners shouldn't be cynical. What's the point of weed if it doesn't make you happy?
Right.
You know, just having designs to make and seeing people wearing them helps take the edge off my cynicism a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. And I saw you have a hoodie that says, "Friends don't let friends buy corporate cannabis." What inspired that hoodie?
Uh, I think it's up to industry people to let our friends know what's up. Why would a consumer question who they're going to buy their weed from if they have no idea? It's I think that's a big point of capitalism is to distract people from the cold hard facts. And I believe that the most important vote someone can make is with their money. So it's up to us to let our friends know and our networks know that where you spend your money is essentially who you support. So don't buy corporate cannabis.
Yeah, and you are no secret to calling out businesses. You have a whole podcast called the CannaBS Detector, which is a dope name, by the way. Is there anything new going on with that? And any people you'd like to shout out on the podcast that you talked to recently?
So I've taken a break from it because I needed to focus on getting my website up and everything like that. But I am planning on starting to record again in February. I was doing last season, I did an episode. I did a bunch of episodes with Brett Puffenbarger as my co-host, and that was fun because I've been carrying that podcast on my back for since 2018, and I don't like doing podcasts. I like talking on them, but I don't like all the other shit that comes along with it. So it's been a nice little break, but I'm definitely going to be coming back. And my focus this year is speaking to people in every state and just calling out the fuckery state by state because I just see the media as the fourth branch of the government. If insurance won't cover a claim, you go to the news. And then they cover the claim because they don't want bad PR. Well, that's what you do. You use the media as a light to shine it on the bullshit. So hopefully people would be like, wait, that seems totally corrupt. What's going on? And we can change things. But all I've seen is the industry essentially is ready to just bow down and kiss the ass of billionaires just to get legalization, not recognizing it will fucking destroy their companies. But you can only tell people this shit so many times before it's all right, cool. That's why I'm selling t-shirts and I don't have a cannabis company because I know better, you know?
Yeah, and I saw in the past you've taught people the importance of terpenes and how education in terpenes is so important for cannabis education.
Yeah.
How do you see legalization 10 years from now with holding cannabis companies accountable for being educated and doing all that? Do you see it going in the right direction?
No, I don't think legalization. Look, besides Colorado, I really don't know of a state that had like a little bit of hiccups in their legalization. Every state has just been blatantly pay to play bullshit, and their regulations have not been based on logic. It's based on lobbyists. And so when I look at any other industry in America, it doesn't fare too well for small businesses or employees. It's just the corporate people. And that's what's happening with this industry. Like every industry that is profitable, it will be co opted and taken over by greedy capitalists who don't have ethical boundaries that would stop them from doing things that put you on the top. Like, look at Amazon. I mean, God, I'm so conflicted when I shop with Amazon. I didn't have a card for 2 years though, but now I do. So now I'm just mad conflicted. So I've been cutting back like hardcore because I feel so bad for their drivers and for fucking anyone. They just destroy you. And this is what I've seen in the cannabis industry. And I just can't accept it. I'm not going to accept that it's a young industry and this is the way it goes. Like, no, fuck you. It's the same old dudes coming into all these new industries and then fucking popping the bubble 10, 20 years later when they fucking decimate the companies they created to make money off of. Because in my opinion, like, I get so hyped up on this. When a company goes public, before establishing its brand, before establishing a customer base, before establishing solid operational foundations, it's a money play, period. And all the MSOs, that's all they do is mergers and acquisitions, just buy, buy, buy. And they all do shitty on the stock market. I think some of them are like Canadian stock market or whatever. It's a huge scam. And we're just supposed to accept, well, it's young and this is what happened to the dot-com era. It's like, yeah, it got squandered by greedy assholes and a ton of people ate shit. Like, aren't we tired of eating shit in this country as non-rich people? Like, I fucking swear, I can't take it. So that's another thing I'm doing with Cynical Stoner that is in the works is I'm going to teach people how to take correct records and notes of your employer's crimes and fucking report this when they start harming people, when they harm employees or when they harm consumers. We have got to start fucking reporting these companies. Because we're letting really fucked up people go. And the real money hasn't come in yet. That comes in with national legalization. Then those people become Jeff Bezos type fucking monsters. Like, the dude went to space on a dick rocket. And then he has the fucking balls to come back and say thank you to all of the employees and customers for flying me to space on a dick rocket. Like, that is cannabis. I swear to God, it's the same type of shit, and they are doing very well because, like, people don't know how to fight back. So yeah, I'm selling T-shirts, but I'm also going to like buck some companies up by giving their employees knowledge. You know?
Yeah, for real, because it comes back to conserving cannabis culture. You don't want, you know what I mean, the wrong hands to really decide like where it's supposed to go in the industry when it's been, you know, in the hands of people that don't have that same background for a long time and they've been doing just fine. So I love seeing people like you come in the industry and like know what's going on, and like you're spitting facts right now. Like it's there is like a long commercialization of cannabis, but how can we fight back with the commercialization? Like, how can we do better about,
I
you know,
think we
making these
have
conscious
to
choices?
recognize the good players and the bad players. Like, here's the thing, like, this isn't a meritocracy, it's capitalism. And when I want to buy weed and I don't have any money, I can't buy craft because I can't afford it. And most people can't. And that's why craft is eating shit in California. It's too expensive for how much people get paid, right? And it's more expensive to grow better weed. There will always be a market for it, but will it be a sustainable market? Like, no, probably not, because people are fucked financially. So it's like, how do we, I don't see a positive end, dude. Like, I just don't, because there's never been one before. The way that it's going to go is just like Hawthorne Garden, whatever. Like they are Scott's Miracle Grow, but it was like his son's like weed division. And then they buy up Gavita and Botanicare and all this shit. And before you know it, the things you were buying from the same place with the same labels, but now they're owned by some fucking evil corporation or whatever. Well, it happens with cannabis businesses. And here's the thing, like I cannot hate anyone for selling out because it's fucking hard, dude. Like it's so hard. And I mean, some of these legacy people have been fighting for their rights and freedoms and like just staying out of jail for a plant for 20 plus years. And if Acreage or some other shitty fund comes and gives them money, can you blame them for being like, fuck it, like I'm done, bro, like give me that million? Like they earn that shit. Like the point of capitalism and successful businesses is having an exit that is profitable. That's just the way it is. So it's like people like me, I'm driven by spite. Like that shit's a fucking flowing well, bro. Like you cannot kill that. It's not about money for me. Like for me, it's about seeing the fucking change that we want in this industry because it's the fucking weed industry. How are we not progressive? Why do we suck so bad? Like, why is it already fucking ruined? It's not even nationally legalized yet. And I feel that sometimes weed is the fucking problem, bro. Like, people need to, like, get sober. Like, I have so much rage when I'm sober. It's nuts. So I think a lot of people need to fucking embrace some rage and, like, do something because, and you asked, what can we do? Start reporting shit. Like, I don't, look, there is this snitches get stitches legacy attitude. And I get it. But this isn't like, I'm talking about when labs are forging results that are not true and you're selling dirty shit to people. Like, I'm talking about that kind of thing where you're putting consumer health at risk. Someone's got to do something. Someone has to say something. We need to like join together. I really want to start a nonprofit whistleblower foundation for the cannabis industry that protects and represents employees and like helps them because it's scary, dude. It's scary as fuck to go to regulators. Like the people you're fucking with have a lot of money that can do a lot of harm to you, especially when you don't have money. Like I think that if we banded together though and did not just leave people out on their own to fight Goliath and was like, dude, there are so many employees that on the daily witness just egregious bullshit. What if there was a way we could do something about it? There has to be, right? Like, I don't consider myself an idealist. I'm very pessimistic. But I feel that, like, before national legalization, we have time to fuck up a big company or let them fuck themselves up and, like, take them to court on that shit and make them an example before it's too late. And we are so close to it being too late already. It's just, yeah, dude, like we need to fucking wake up. But I mean, weed people are like very hard to organize. So
Yeah, for sure. And I see a new influx of obviously like a love for cannabis. I'd say the Gen Z like are trying to be a part of cannabis and do it in a way that's, I mean, still with a culture that's from the 70s, I believe. But I think that, they're going to dispensaries and they're getting that commercialization right off the bat. I think that they need to like watch. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say it's like, yeah, everyone has this commercialized idea of the industry, but then they get jobs at these companies, they take pay cuts, and then they work for sociopaths, and they're like, they get their hearts broken. Like, I mean, I literally see people's spirits fade out of them, dude. It's happened to me. Like, I am a cynical stoner. Like, I'll be the cynical stoner for everyone so you don't become like me. Like, just listen to what I'm saying. But unfortunately, like me, some people need to get burned to learn that you will get burned. It's not enough to warn people. It's like, I'm a fucking condom. Like, no one wants protection. It's not fun, but it
Yeah.
fucking can prevent a lot of bad shit if you just used it, but no, whatever. Like at this point, I just am putting shit on people's chests and that makes me happy. And I'll keep doing my podcast. And I mean, I really like the fact that Brett Puffenbarger on LinkedIn, like when I disappeared, he started calling out a ton of shit. And that's why I was like, bro, let's partner up, because anyone who calls out bullshit in the industry is a fucking homie of mine. Like, there's no competition. Like, we cannot afford to compete. Like, we all need to join forces and tell the truth, because I don't give a fuck, like, at all. So someone has to do it, and more people are waking up to like the underlying bullshit and corruption in the weed industry. But I think people need a direction to go in. And everything gets fucked up. Every organization in the industry gets fucked up. So I don't know, I'm
I
not
hear
there
you.
yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, and I want to see you succeed in your mission, because I think that what you're doing is important. There always needs to be someone, you know what I mean, either playing devil's advocate or saying what needs to be said, right? We can't be talking all happy about cannabis all the time when there are real people out there, in the fields or really suffering from this industry when it's seen as like so new and so
I
happy.
mean, and when you're talking about people suffering in this industry, the growers are fucked. Like, the fucking industry does not exist without the plant. Yet the people responsible for growing the plant are shit on at every level by the regulators, by this is in a supply chain. When you're at the bottom level, you just get stepped on, and it's like in California, they pay the most taxes on the plant. They do the most work. It's the most difficult. It has the most risk. Like, they're just fucked. And I saw this report in the Guardian like a few years ago that said that conventional farmers have the highest suicide rate of all vocations because they're reliant on nature. And I don't know, like, if anyone's been paying attention, but like, nature is fucked. Like, global climate change, like, shit is crazy. So that's one way. And a lot of times, instead of like killing themselves, they fake accidents so their family gets the life insurance to get them out of debt for all of the upfront investment in growing. That's for conventional farmers. Can you imagine like how much more hard it is for cannabis growers? Like, especially the ones in California who voted for Prop 64 and ended up in a county that won't allow growing cannabis. Like, there's just, I know of 3 people that have taken their lives because their livelihoods got taken by legalization, which it was supposed to be the fucking opposite. And no one's like, I don't know what we need to do there, but I think that we really need to focus like a concerted effort on the mental health and well-being of growers in the cannabis industry, because it's so hard, dude. And like, I think MSOs should be the ones running equity programs, social equity, because they have all the fucking money anyways and they know how to run everything. They should also be the ones that are leading these grower mental health initiatives. Like, the motherfuckers who are going to take over the industry, the least you could do is pretend to care by making these. Like, you don't even have to care. Just do it to look good. It will go fucking far. It would go so far, but they won't. So
Yeah. And for anybody watching that doesn't know, MSOs are multi-state operators. They're usually big companies that have multiple operations across state lines, and are usually big corporate when it comes to cannabis.
Like MedMen and other ones. I hate MedMen the most, but they're all shitty because their focus is on growth for their shareholders and not quality or anything for anyone else.
And you in this industry are obviously like a disruptor to all of that. How have you continued to like go on through all of this adversity that you've faced? And I'm sure there's tacked on from like maybe being a woman in this industry as well, just because it is so male dominated. How did you like go through that, or how do you keep going?
Spite. that despite everything, fuck you. Like, you will not take me down, bitch. You'll have to kill me. Like, that's how I feel. It's when I went to beauty school. I only did it because I was always cutting my friend's hair and stuff, but I was not a girly girl. And the teacher was like, there's no way you're going to graduate. And I was like, oh, really? Well, fuck you then. And I graduated. Like, that's how I succeed, is when someone challenges me. And this industry fucking challenges me. And I'm not going to lie, bro. Like, I've spent years so depressed. Like, I mean, Cynical Stoner gave me a purpose again. I have not had a purpose for like the past 2 years. I was so fucking depressed. So it's like, I realized though that I cannot continue on my journey if I don't have a recourse. Like, I can't just keep calling out the bullshit. There has to be a solution. Like, there's nothing more depressing than not having a solution to anything. Like, I don't want to be that person. I can't. It's unsustainable. Like, my resting bitch face is so bad, dude, and I earned it. Like, I have no excuses. I have rested a lot and have turned into a bitch. Like, Weed Week, I did an episode with them. It comes up if you just Google Kristen Yoder and you scroll down a little. It's like, good Lord, what have y'all done to Kristen Yoder? Like, and they have a video of me at the dispensary I was at, like, over 10 years ago, and I was so bright and full of life. And then my interview with them, and I was just fucking dead inside and like totally done, you know? And now I'm like, I'm alive again, but I'm still done. And I refuse to accept things for the way they are. And I don't ever plan on being a wealthy person. It's not necessary for me. Like, I'm never having kids. So, like, I just want to fucking go to the Maldives and like enjoy life a little, and then I'll blow some shit up. I don't really care. I don't even want to get old at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't mean literally. I'm not blowing anything literally, dude.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, I will rage against the machine, and I will empower people to fucking stand up against them. I fucking will. And there's nothing that's going to stop that, especially if people tell me I can't, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm totally with you. I've seen, like, in the industry, I've gone through several jobs just being, you know, just a woman going through these different, like, sectors of life. I've been, like, doing creative directing over here. I've worked at a studio. I've done, you know, this. I've been a writer. And there's been a lot of different times where I've faced adversity just on the fact of, like, feeling used and feeling like people just take advantage of you for all your worth, and then what do? You know what I mean? It's just like capitalism. But what I've learned is that all you can do is like lead by example, and I think that's a great example of what you're doing is leading by example. So, like, you know what I mean? Raising hell, taking names, talking about what needs to be talked about is like super important when it comes to, you know what I mean, like creating a movement or just like, you know, making things happen. And so, you know, the people that make things happen speak the loudest, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Like a Greek, I think it's Greek mythology, of this chick who was called Cassandra, and she saw the future and she kept trying to warn people, and everyone's like, she's fucking insane. She's an insane woman. Like, lock her up. She's crazy. Like, medicate her, whatever. Like, she's fucking nuts. And then it all came true. And I have felt like a Cassandra sometimes, you know, where it's like, I get tired of telling people shit, so I stop. Like, I just dip out. And I've also learned that fuck social media. I refuse to lead my life by my engagement. Like, I don't care. I will not buy into this. It's so weird. Like, I'm so grateful that I was born when I was born. I'm 37. Like, I grew up with the internet being full of scary people, like on a dial-up modem and shit, and you didn't give people your information. So I saw Facebook and MySpace as like, whoa, bro, that's like Big Brother or whatever. And so I never really I didn't grow up talking to my phone and shit all the time. I didn't even have a cell phone until I was like 18. And I'm so grateful because fuck, it's just a weird ass world, dude. Like, the world is weird. But at the same time, I'm like, ooh, I want to teach classes in the metaverse or whatever,
For
you know?
real. Yeah,
So,
it's hard, the back and forth. I totally know what you mean, because like there's sometimes where I'm just all RMR, like writing and being on that, but it's so hard to like be your own brand sometimes and like do all these appearances and like do stuff when really all you want is just for people to listen and know like what you're talking about, the first
exactly.
time.
Yeah,
For
totally.
sure.
Yeah.
So, being infused for around 16 years, how have you seen the industry change from like when you were a grower or a cultivator to like where you are now? And you've helped businesses, like given them advice and stuff like that. Like, have you seen any change within where you've been putting your information?
Yeah, okay, so I started off as a bud tender managing a dispensary for 5 years, and that was in 2005 to 2010. And it was completely different. It was medical. It was under the Medical Compassionate Use Act, Proposition 215 in California. So it was unregulated. But if you had a good lawyer and collective paperwork, then you could get out of shit. But you could face a raid or whatever. But the people that came into my dispensary, because we didn't advertise, were sick people. So, but also, I thought it was sativa as a head high, indica as a body high for like 5 years. And I didn't realize that was bullshit for a while, but I'll get to that. So back then, they were like so appreciative to be able to buy weed at a store from people who cared. It was just me and one other girl. That was it, like the whole time. Well, and the dude up front and the owner who was never there. So it was like a family, like seriously, it was so cool. But a lot of people passed away, and you couldn't talk about it like, oh, getting stoned or whatever. You tried to pretend to be medical as much as you could. And then growing, I I learned to grow with this grower indoors and outdoors and indoors at this warehouse in North Hollywood that I'm pretty sure was run by the Russian mafia because they run mad shit out there. And they kept bringing their friends in, and the grow was infested, and it was a fucking nightmare. And then that's when I learned growing is so much labor. Like, it is a very hard job. I'm not cut out for that. Like, again, shout out to the growers, because it's not for everyone, dude. That's for sure. So I don't think that it's that different in LA. Still to this day, tons of grows run by Armenians and Russians and whatever. LA is so fucking bad at licensing businesses that there's still a ton of Prop 215 stores that are totally unregulated. So that hasn't changed. People are jaded fucking assholes in a lot of ways that grew up with dispensaries. So they always are like, they have a more entitled attitude about things. There's less like excited, humble people, but then it depends on the neighborhood too. Like LA is literally like the world, a microcosm of the world, with each neighborhood being incredibly culturally different than the next. So it's become a lot more commercial. And then like the biggest difference is compliance. Once Prop 64 passed, I fucking quit working with weed companies because it sucks. It's so boring and tedious. Like, I never got into this industry because I'm a masochist who likes paperwork. Like, no, thank you. So I decided at that point I can either help weed companies become real companies, which is impossible in a lot of ways because they don't like to pay and they don't like to listen. And I don't have tolerance for either of those. And then you can help regular companies or entrepreneurs that want to get into the cannabis industry and protect them from making bad decisions up front. So that's the direction I went in. And I was doing strategic advising for idea stage entrepreneurs. The thing is most people's ideas are not viable. They're just not. So all I need is 2 hours with someone and I will destroy their dreams because they weren't good in the first place. And someone's got to tell them, because you will go to a consultant and they will charge you for licensing workshops and all this shit that is irrelevant because there's no way you will ever get a license in the first place. That's why, like, I don't ever want to be called a consultant because I tell people no and I shut things down. And I'm, again, not in this for the money. Like, I'm in it to save people from getting fucking destroyed and eaten alive, you know? And that doesn't pay super well, but I sleep well. So, again,
Yeah, for sure.
it's resting, bitch face, you know?
Always resting.
Yeah.
I don't even see it, honestly, but
Oh,
I'll take your word for it.
I'm not gonna sell. I'm gonna get a facelift probably.
I feel that with my I have like a very like anxious face that I wear very often. So if there's
Yeah, I mean,
anxious bracelets,
I'm always concerned looking. Like I have legit forehead wrinkles and a crease from just being disgusted with the world all the time.
and we both have the bangs, so it's always hard to read our emotions sometimes. When our
Yes,
eyebrows go up, they look the same.
yeah.
So, do you still like smoke today? Or are you still like cannabis
So
consumer?
last year I realized that my relationship with weed was totally out of control because I couldn't quit. I was like not enjoying myself. Like it became just negative and I quit. And then I realized like, dude, weed addiction does exist. Any fucking substance that changes your mindset or your perception or whatever can be abused. Like, duh. And the fact that the weed industry will refuse to even admit that cannabis can be abused is fucking insane. And I don't like that because we're willing to let people use concentrates. I mean, fucking Joey was with me at the rosin press event where like I was on an empty stomach and I had drank a margarita and I dabbed and I was looking for Joey and I couldn't find him and I fucking blacked out. I fainted. The one time in my fucking life I wear a mini skirt, dude, and like I fainted in front of everyone. And I come to on the ground with like my skirt around my waist and everyone's just terrified. And it was the first time I've ever been. I didn't go anywhere with the ambulance because I don't have insurance, duh. But it's
Those are
the
expensive.
first time I ever sat in an ambulance, and like it was crazy. And I'm like, yo, I am a stoner, and I have lost consciousness 4 times in a year from dabbing on an empty stomach. That's fucking stupid. If that's not addicted, like it's not like it was benefiting me at all, dude. Like that's not good. So I came to terms with that and I quit for 5 months, but then I don't know, dude, like I got so super. No, actually what it was is this guy had a vape pen and it had been like 5 months and I'm like, let me hit your vape pen. And then I'm like, oh, it's like not that great or whatever. And then a week later, I'm fucking buying weed again. And then
How it always starts.
I'm addicted to weed. Like, this is just a fact. And I'm not going to not say that to make fucking stoners feel better about maybe their own issues. Like, look, if you can quit, you're not addicted. I can't quit, bro. I keep being like, bro, I need to quit because I don't have the money. And I keep fucking buying it anyways. Like, that's addiction. So I love weed so much that I have issues with it, but I will not dab anymore. Like, I'm fucking done with that. In my opinion, like, dabbing is not therapeutic. It's like too much, bro. And I don't think people under the age of 21 should be dabbing. Like, their brains do not need concentrated cannabis like that. And also, weed doesn't grow concentrated. So, like, for all these fucking natural people to be so down with solvent based extracts, it's just so fucking stupid and hypocritical. But whatever, to each their own, you know?
Yeah, I think it comes to like being, like you could be a vegan and then you don't worry about your clothing, being vegan, and so like you're just only worrying about like one area where there's like so many other parts that you don't like realize are so dangerous. But
I mean, I think when it comes to concentrates, we need warnings, more warnings that tell people don't use this like unless you've done it before. Like, make sure you eat something, bring up CHS, because these are known facts. And guess what? Like the tobacco industry also hid a bunch of this shit that they knew was going on until they got sued Why must we wait as a fucking industry that supposedly thinks it's better than these other industries? Why are we waiting to put more warnings out there to let consumers know for a fucking class action lawsuit because they willingly hid information? Like, I don't like the hypocrisy of it. I think that you can be pro cannabis and also be pro knowledge about whether it's good for everyone or not. And I think we need to recognize that we're not much better off than other industries that are willing to hide negatives for progress. That's fucking capitalistic, period. Like, if a drug company hid side effects for progress, that would be unethical. Everyone would have a problem with it, but we don't do that with
100%.
weed. What's that about, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. And I wanted to ask you, do you have like a specific stance on botanical terpenes? Like I know that that's been a hot issue as well with like
So,
just kind of like understanding that.
yeah, okay. So when it comes to terpenes, as long as they're botanical, naturally sourced, a terpene is a terpene is a terpene. If we're talking about an isolated terpene, but what I think the real conversation is when it comes to terpenes and cannabis versus botanical is all the other stuff. When you do a steam distillation or whenever you're extracting the terpene profile from cannabis, it's also not just terpenes. There's esters and flavonoids and flavonols and thiols and other things that give weed the smell. Like I believe Abstract Tech just came out about thiols. Like thiol is that skunky smell. That like anytime you smell just myrcene or linalool, weed doesn't smell like that at all. Because actually, like in flower, the most stinkiest bomb smelling shit is maybe at max 4% terpene per weight volume, like of the whole thing, 4%. And in that 4% is hundreds of different terpenes, terpenoids, etc. So it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. So when people are talking about botanical versus cannabis extracted, I think they're talking about the other shit, the thiols, etc., that you get when you extract it from cannabis that cannot be replicated by taking like 40 tiny, tiny little concentrations of all these different ones and putting it together that does not include esters, thiols, flavonoids. Like that's where the weed smell comes from, you know? Otherwise, you're just doing like aromatherapy. It's no different. So
Yeah.
that's where I stand. Like, what it's not about botanical versus cannabis terpenes, it's about the aromatic profile and all the active chemicals that come with it. That's, in my opinion, that's what the argument is about. People don't understand that part, but we're
And
learning.
yes, for sure. I feel like I'm learning all the time. I read a lot about terpenes and just trying to understand the profile can be difficult because there's a lot of different companies that will talk about, terpenes over here and terpenes over there, but I really would love an in-depth, terpene research file that I could like scale and constantly go back to. But I know that you came up with like a test kit. So how did you like teach critical thinking with, or not critical thinking, but
Yeah,
people
critical
to,
thinking.
yeah, critical thinking with cannabis? Like how did you
Well,
educate people?
so after I grew for a couple of years, I went to manage an edible company for 3 years. And while I was there, I did product development and formulating edibles, etc. And so I worked with a testing lab called The Workshop, run by Dr. Jeffrey Raber, who's my mentor. And that was back in 2012. He would test all of our extracts. He introduced me to terpenes. We started adding terpenes into tinctures to see the different effects and stuff like that. And then the edible company got raided a couple times, and by the second time, there was nothing to manage. So I went to work at the lab, and at that time, Dr. Raber was creating a terpene training kit, and that is when I learned sativa indica is bullshit. And it took me a month. I swear to God. It was like literally losing your religion. Because I grew up in a Christian home, and like losing that religion over time, that was a fucking process, you know? So once it hit though, I was like, oh my God, I must absolve my guilt of like misleading people for 5 fucking years. So I started doing classes with the terpene training kit. And then I've added into it as well, like, yeah, there's medical research on terpenes, but none of it is smoking terpenes. So it's fucking irrelevant to cannabis when you smoke it. Like, all of it's irrelevant. Like, my whole point of my class is here's an intro to terpenes. I'll send you the research associated with the 9 most commonly found terpenes in cannabis. But when it comes to smoking it or even vaping it, it's fucking irrelevant. Because guess what? It's different for everyone. And that is not a good marketing thing. Like, I know when a consumer comes into a dispensary, all they want to know is what does it do? How will it make me feel? A company cannot say it's different for everyone. Like, that's like literally the fucking essence of cannabis marketing is effect based. And that's why terpenes are important, because it's not just THC. It's everything together, the ensemble effect more than an entourage effect. And so now brands are catching on, which is dope. Because fuck indica sativa, it is irrelevant. Like, I don't want to see it, and I don't want brands to continue using it because it's keeping consumers stupid and uneducated. And it's so much cooler to make marketing based off of science. The thing is it's not fully applicable, but maybe even if it's kind of like, all I teach people at the end of my class is trust nothing but your fucking nose. Like, just clock shit. What smells good? Is it fruity, spicy, whatever? Just take note of that. And then try and get other things that smell like that. That is the only reliable way you will figure out what works for you, because labs are corrupt. The fucking companies are corrupt. The packaging is usually wrong. And even in a lab, like, terpenes are just a bunch of peaks, and it's up to the person interpreting the peaks to get it correctly. So even in the same plant, you'll have different terpene concentrations on different parts of the plant. It's so fucking imprecise that, like, you can either believe what they tell you and get a very good placebo effect, and sometimes I wonder if that's even a bad thing, except you can't replicate it unless you get the same lie again. I mean, really, at this point, just assume everything is bullshit and buy by the smell. But if you live in a state like Washington, fuck fino, dude, because you can't even touch anything. You can't smell anything. It's all packaged. And the bud tenders, unfortunately, they're not usually that educated, because it's like the fast food part of the industry for business owners. They see their bud tenders as like the checkout people, which is really stupid. And like, I'm actually working on a campaign right now that I'm going to be releasing that's like, dude, bud tenders are people too, and they have fucking dreams, and a lot of them want to help you, and they don't get paid very well, and they don't get treated very well either in a lot of places. Like, it's just not cracked up to what it should be. But like, they play a role in bringing people happiness. Even if what they're saying is bullshit and you believe it, it doesn't matter, because what I said was bullshit, everyone believed it, and I thought I was an expert. So the fact is when people leave happy, then like, that person's done a good job. And like, I actually, on my website right now, cynicalstoner.com, I made a little printout, like, thank you note to give the person at the grocery store or at Starbucks or something, to say like, I see you, I value you, because fucking life is hard for everyone right now, especially people that have to deal with people, because people are fucking assholes right now. It's like everyone's just like forgotten their humanity or something. I'm not really sure. And I
Must have
think
been with COVID, I guess. Being inside too long.
it's COVID for sure. It's COVID. And I think it's also social media disinformation campaigns that have created such a crazy division and so much fervent hatred that it's just not healthy. That's why I don't even fuck with Twitter. Like, it gives me
I'm not on Twitter
crazy
either.
anxiety, bro, because everyone just wants to fight. And same with Facebook. I hate it. It like stresses me out. Like, we have a choice to participate in that or not. And I think like we need to not. We need to like regain our humanity and recognize that everyone is fucking tired of COVID. Everyone. It's not a reason to be a dick, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I've worked in the restaurant industry too, and I've seen like so many people come in and just like abuse the workers or just downright just be like the ugliest, you know what I mean, to
Yeah.
people. And I really like I wonder how it comes to that point. It's like you're standing right in front, like it used to be, where people would be like, "Oh, over the internet, you can say whatever you want," but people have just taken that to real life and just saying it to your face, and they
I
just like
mean,
have
with
no
their fucking
connection.
camera recording it. That's the crazy part is people are doing crazy shit for social media. Like, how weird. Like, I just don't know, dude. Sometimes when I'm like, I'm glad I'm smoking weed again because sometimes I get fucking seriously disillusioned. And I read Reddit a lot, and I read the nursing subreddit and the Starbucks subreddit and the Amazon DSP delivery driver subreddit. And these people are fucking broken, dude. They're broken. They're so tired. They're so fucking done. And I've been there so many times. And like, if all of us can contribute making their day a little bit nicer, like why don't we do that? Because like what happens when we run out of healthcare workers? Like dude, I don't think people realize, like, I mean, in Los Angeles, we have now passed over 28,000 people have died from COVID since the pandemic started. That was like a majority of them were probably active in the workforce. Like, yeah, a lot of people are quitting their jobs, but also a lot of people died. They fucking died. Like, they aren't in their jobs anymore. And to take that out on the living people is just insane. Like, bro, like treat others as you want to be treated. And like, just put a fucking mask on, handle your shit, and go on with your life. Like that, why not? Like,
It
I
really
just,
does sound that easy, you know what I mean? Like,
it seems so easy, but something we've like totally forgotten. So I recommend, like, if you're feeling jaded or cynical like me, to print out the note and give it to people because it feels good to do something nice for someone, you know?
for sure. Tip your
Yeah.
waitresses, tip everybody, give them a
Yeah,
good,
bro.
yeah, give them
Totally.
a hug if they let you.
Just
If,
fucking thank people. Like,
yeah,
just tell them, like, I appreciate you. No one does that, It's like,
yeah,
even, especially the nurses and stuff, like, there are people now that think that the doctors are trying to kill their family members in the hospitals and they want to attack the healthcare workers. It's like, it's just crazy. Usually when you're sick, you're thankful for people taking care of you, But now people are like plotting attacking doctors because of their unvaccinated family dying in the hospital. Like, bro, what the fuck is happening? Like, we all just need to be nicer to people. Just everyone just be nice. Is it
yeah.
possible? I don't know, dude. Um,
Yeah, I feel that. It's
yeah.
just about, it's just about bringing back the sense of community that I feel like we've lost over the sense of the years. It's just people have been divided, like you said, with social media and just things in general have just been dividing us, and we've just been listening and not researching. And that's where the difference lies in getting the right information. Is just doing your research and not just believing everything you hear or that has been said a million times. Just because it's said a million times doesn't mean it's true.
I mean, there's studies that show that lies travel way faster and to way more people than the truth does. Like right behind me, I've always wanted these, but like these posters that have all these different logical fallacies. So it's like, uh, I'm trying to, I want to create a course that teaches people how to recognize logical fallacies in social media, um, or in arguments, period. Just start being more critical thinkers because there's so much more bullshit out there than there was. And it's easy to fall for it. Like, I've fallen for it,
Yeah.
Also, people just tend to look at headlines, and headlines are fucking, I've learned this, all about SEO, dude, not facts.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Like, you need to actually read the shit in them. You can't just look at headlines.
Yeah. It's interesting coming from like a writer's perspective too, and SEO, and trying to keep the truth about cannabis as well, because I'm put in a position where I can influence people, and I don't want to influence them in the wrong way. And it's been a journey for me, just kind of going through cannabis and figuring out what it is like on the medical side, because I come from Florida, so I have like really just like from the commercial side of things, it's like all like dispensary and a little bit before that, understanding like obviously like the cannabis community before going medical. But all I know is medical. I've only seen like really um, what's it, not medical but recreational in Las Vegas. It's like a completely different culture. It's so
Yeah,
interesting to see like the difference in the learning and how similar it is, recreational versus medical. Like sometimes medical really doesn't feel that medical, it feels more
it's not medical.
commercial. Yeah.
I mean, can you think of any pharmaceutical drug that's prescribed that's also sold recreationally?
No.
Me either. So I
Nobody's
don't know
doing
how we're
Advil
doing.
for fun.
Here's the key: like, national legalization is going to lead to recreational. It's going to destroy medical, but it will open the door to medical research. But medical programs get murdered whenever legalization passes because it's too hard to manage two different systems. Except I think in Colorado they have both, but most California, other places, Washington, the patients are fucked. And what matters is um, edible dosing. When you're a medical patient, it used to be that you could have up to 1,000 milligram edible. But if you're not medical, then you can only get 100. That's like the commercial amount, and it's in 10 milligram doses. But once you get rid of that, then you're forcing people with less money, because they're medical patients, to pay extra taxes and extra money for less potent shit. That's a problem. Like, honestly, I feel that medical should be highly regulated, like in Israel, where if you are a medical patient, you get signed up to clinical trials run by the government or whoever. I mean, EU government, but someone run clinical trials and have like highly regimented grows that is all fucking medical. And then you have the conventional market, just like you have organic produce and conventional produce. And it, like, I honestly, dude, I don't think people care about smoking pesticides. Well, we've been doing it forever. Anytime you've smoked fucking weed, there was pesticides on it. Even now, even regulated weed, there's pesticides on some of it. So I think
Yeah.
it's just, again, about money, and medical will always be more expensive because it's quality, but it should also be covered by health insurance. Like, I think we should have two separate things. I've just never seen it happen. So, I
Yeah.
don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like this, the medical side of things, you still have to pay out of pocket when it comes to having a license and all that stuff. Like it's not covered. So it
Yeah.
is interesting to be within that and then still not get the perks of it being like an actual regulated system
Yeah.
somewhat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The ironies of weed.
it's so interesting, like hearing all this stuff, like all my preconceived notions and stuff. But I'm glad that like there's people out there like you talking about this stuff, because it's so interesting to hear. You know what I mean? Because you've had 16 years. There's a lot of people coming into cannabis, you know what I mean? Reading from the internet and just being like, I'm a pro, you know what I mean? I know everything there is to know, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it make you feel like? That's it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not that cut and dry.
Nah, man. If you can't appreciate nuance, you will fucking lose your mind in the weed industry, because it's nuanced as fuck in every state, every city. Nuances, just tons of nuances culturally, like your demographics, like everything. It's what I love about it is that I always learn new stuff, and it's not just the plant, dude. Like, I've learned botany, but I've also learned like business sides. You learn about legal stuff. I've learned accounting. Weed has an entire economy serving like from tech to the plant, like in every way, there is an industry or a sector, they all apply to weed. So it is literally an unending lesson. You just choose which sector you want to go down, and there's a whole ton of shit you can learn that is applicable to cannabis. It's so cool, but a lot of people want concise answers, and we don't have those. And that's like, I mean, look at Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. Like, dude's like 89 or some shit, hella old, still obsessed with it, dude. Like, and I tell people, it's like cats. No one owns cats. You are owned by a cat. Like, this is just a fact. The minute you realize that you do not own weed owns you, the better things are. I mean, well, kind of. At least you know your mistress or like your master or whatever. But like,
Right.
I mean, I've had friends move out of their bedrooms into tents in their backyard to turn their room into a grow. I mean, I've like everyone I know has lost money pursuing a career in cannabis. Like, I mean, we get fucking bitch slapped by this plant all the time, but then we also get a hug from it too. So it's just a very weird situation where like it's very hard, but the very parts that suck are quelled by the plant. It's just fucking crazy. It's just so crazy. Michael Pollan, who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, said that humans are the bees to cannabis. Like, it literally, this plant trained humans to spread it all around the world, to fucking dedicate their entire careers to studying this plant. Like, I'm cool with being like a slave of cannabis, or I call it a willing captive, you know? That's what we are. We're willing captives of this plant. And the sooner you learn it, the less painful it will be, you know?
Yeah, for real. And what would be your like last things going into this industry as a young person? Like, what would you say to the people that are just starting out?
Just keep your eyes open. And if something doesn't feel right, like talk to someone about it. Like you can talk to me, or like there's all kinds of people out there that have been through some shit. Like, I just want people to know, like, if you go through some shit, you are not alone by any means, and talk to someone about it, and don't like keep it in, because I dealt with so many traumas in my career that I've still not fully dealt with, and it comes back, dude, and it bites you in the ass, and no job is worth that shit. So like, just don't expect it to be amazing. It's a fucking job, you know, and maybe it'll become a career sometime, but just approach it like rationally. And you know, if something doesn't feel right, like you have to know your boundaries, because once you cross them, shit gets really hectic. So I mean, it's not a very positive thing to say, but like that's the most important thing I think people need to know. And I also have a lot of people on LinkedIn that'll reach out and ask me if a company is a good company to work for. Most of them suck. Almost all of us go and work for shitty assholes. I don't hate the employees. Like, bro, get your experience wherever you can. It's probably gonna suck, but I mean, it's a job, dude. Like, what did you think it would be? It's the people that get jobs in good companies don't fucking leave. So more than likely, you're gonna go to a shitty company. So just expect it. It will be less hard if you expect it. Maybe it'll even be better than you expected, but you don't want it to be worse than you expected, because that's never fun, you know?
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Kristen, for
Yeah.
your time. I feel like I learned so much, and I'd love to speak with you again sometime. Uh, this is Kristen Yoder. She has Cynical Stoner merch. You should totally buy it. She also has a podcast that she's going to be taking on the road soon enough, which is called
Yep.
CannaBS Detector.
Yes.
So stay tuned to everything that she's doing, as well as us over at RMR. We are a cannabis and music blog, so if you'd love to learn more about cannabis and music, head over to our area. So
Yeah, they're the best. Love RMR.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Well,
for
that's the
sure.
end of our stream. Thank you so much.
Take
Woo!
care.